Okay, we're up to Mem Vav Amid Beis. Mem Vav Amid Beis. Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna. Very, very, very good. So you just think of a plot tonight. Mamish the major sugya in Chalipin.
We started.
So in the bottom of Mem Vav Amid Beis, Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna. If a person says Mochali be'elu, he says, go ahead, sell to me this chayfetz with the money that's in my hand, right? And kana, if the guy accepts it, he doesn't know how much money he has in his hand. The guy is very interesting. He says, sell to me with the money that I have in my hand. Lekech has money in his hand. The Malach says, yeah, let's make a deal, right? Manti.
or
Monty Hall, was that? Monty Hall, yeah. Right? No, Monty Hall.
Too young.
Yeah. Okay, anyway. Lenny's going like this. Anyway, so you sell it for this amount, and he goes, you got a deal. You got a deal, right? So kana, and you can't go back on the deal. Rashi says, kana lokeach hachefetz b'maos, he requires it. So no, you know what? You can't go back on the deal. V'yesh oilav oina, and there is the halacha of oina. We'll get into oina b'ez Hashem. Basically, is more than a six, less than a six. It's okay. A six, it's going back in the deal. More than a six, I think it's a mekach tois. But the halachas of oina would apply to this. Good, which is kind of funny. Okay, afal gav delay mashach, even though he didn't do mashicha, the kivin loy kappa kana. Since he was a makbid to know how much money it was, he acquires it. The ki chalipin dummy. Okay, let's give you a little background over here. In the usual case, in the usual mechira, we know we have machloikis between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, which we'll see tonight, of course, where the money is kaina. According to Reish Lakish, money is not kaina deraisa. According to Rabbi Yochanan, money is kaina deraisa. But even late Rabbi Yochanan, if you give the person cash, the deal's not finalized until you do mashicha. We know that by now. Good. So yachal lachsabai. Now you may get a mishapara, but yachal lachsabai. However, if the kinyan is a kinyan chalipin, in other words, you're bartering, right? You're saying that you make a kinyan, then there's no going back on the deal. If you make a kinyan chalipin, there's two types of kinyan chalipin. Basically, there's kinyan sudar, where it's more symbolic in nature, or you're bartering a chamar for a shar. Okay. So now, when it says over here, you can't go back on the deal, you're announcing that what? That it's chalipin. Because if it was what? If it was a regular mechira and there was no mashicha, you should be able to go back on the deal. So the fact that you can't go on the deal is like chalipin. On the other hand, you're telling me that there's a din of ainah. If the din of ainah, it's mashma, it's a din of mecher, which is a sale. So whether the chalipin is a din of ainah or not, l'chayr it's mashma here. There's no din of ainah. That's the shaila of Rishayim. So it's kind of a tati de sasre. It's kind of a it's basically a hybrid. Phyllis, it's a hybrid. The fact that you can't go back on the deal shows that it's what it is chalipin. The fact that there's a din of ainah shows it's a mechira. Are we good? It's like a hybrid. It's both. So let's see it again. Says the Gemara. May I sit down? We'll go through it again one more time. Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna, machali be'elu kanu. You say, sell to me be'elu, and you don't say an amount. You don't say amount. Kana, the deal is good. And again, what does Rashi say? The deal is good, and you can't go back on the deal. So when you say you can't go back on the deal, what are you saying? It's screaming out chalipin. It's screaming chalipin. V'yesh lavayna, it's telling me that what? That it's a mechira. So now the Gemara first says, now, kana, afagav loy mashach, you acquire it even though you didn't do mashicha, because it's chalipin. The kivin like kapid, since he's not makbid on the amount of money, because he said be'elu, kana, the ki chalipin dummy, it's similar to chalipin. V'yesh lavayna, conversely, there's a din of ayna, the machali be'elu kama, because he used the lashon what? Of machali. So it's a kind of a hybrid. This was what Rabbi reported in the name of Rav Huna. This is what Rabbi reported in the name of Rav Huna. Rav Abba Rav Huna. Rav Abba reported in the name of Rav Huna. Machali be'elu kana. You are kaina. However, the ein lo yalav ayna. Right? There's no ayna. Which apparently would make it an outright chalipin because there's no ayno whatsoever. Now pshita, now it's pashit, damim ve'ein makber aleihem, karminon, the kani, the chalipin dani. He's saying the following. He's saying that you acquire it for a value that you don't know, and he's not makbid, ki chalipin dami. What about the following? Chalipin u makber aleihem. You know, chalipin, there's a kinyan chalipin and he's makbid. So usually a kinyan chalipin, there's no going back, right? What about this guy is makbid? So this is the inverse. Over here, you're telling me that what? It's not makbid. It's not any you koina. What about if you are makbid when you should be koina? Are you koina or not? You don't know the value of something, but you want it to be chalipin. So chalipin umak le'emai. What would it then be? Chalipin umak ba'aleim. Let's see Rashi here. Pshita lon damim ve'ein makber le'em nasla mois. If you give him money, oy chayfetz b'shvil chayfetz acher, or one chayfetz for another chayfetz. B'toyres damim. You're giving it what? Remember, you're giving it for its value. For its value, as opposed to the kinyan suda, which is more symbolic in nature. And you're not market to see if the value is there. We said koina. What about the opposite? I'm giving you a para for your chamar. Rashi says kinyan suda is fascinating to me. Most Rishonim say, why? It's speaking about a kinyan of par of the chamor. But the bottom line is, you're not makbid. You are makbid. What's the din when you are makbid? What would the din be when you are makbid? That's the question. So, if we just saw a case where you're not makbid, you're koina. You don't know how much money is in the hand. What about the inverse? What about a case where you're doing chalipin and you are makbid? Is it koina or not? Amar Rav Adar Bar Ava Toshma. Harishahoyu toifis parasa. The guy is holding on to his para. V'oimed ubachaveiroi v'amaloi paras chalama. Right. So why do you have a chamar? Why do you have a para? So he says to him, "Lechamar need tzarech. I have it, right? And guess what? I need a chamar." So it's his lucky day because the guy says to him, "What? Yesh li chamar. I have a chamar. Shani nice lecha." Okay. For what am I going to give it for? Parascha bekama. How much is your para? And he goes bekach v'kach. Chamarcha bekama. Bekach v'kach. Moshich bala chamar es a para. If he goes ahead and he does meshicha on the chamar, right? He does meshicha. The chamar does meshicha on the para. What should the din be, guys? The din should be done, right? So whose rishus would the chamar be in? The Baal Para, right? In other words, and if it drops dead, tough luck. He doesn't acquire it. He doesn't acquire it. Now, if it was a regular case of chalipin, he should acquire it. Shmamino, chalipin u'makbar leim. Shmamino, you see over here, chalipin, since they said in the case, para bekama, chamar bekama, they will makbid on. They will makbid on the amount. So we see that chamar or para or makbid aleihem, then therefore leikana. Let's be paisha the shaila. Let's be paisha the shaila. Amar Rabbi says, Rava, atu chalipin b'shavtani askinan. You think chalipin stamas they were dealing with fools? Lekapti? In other words, anytime you're going ahead and doing kinyan chalipin, the assumption is that what? That you're going to take into account that what it's worth. You go ahead. You know what? You got a car, I got a car. We're going to go ahead and trade. So you got a Lexus and you end up getting a Chevy. That's not fair. You got a Scotch. If it's a Lexus, it's got to be an Infinity or something else. In other words, person knows basically what the value is. Or if it's a Chevy, it's an expensive Chevy. Such a thing as a Corvette, right? There's expensive Chevy. There's something expensive. So in other words, that's not a raya. People know, basically, they do know what the value is when you go through the situation over here. Ella, what do you say? Kol chalipin mikbet kapid v'kana. All chalipin, you know what there is value. And nonetheless, it's kaina. Over here, there must be a different reason it wasn't kaina. Okay, let's go through it again. We want to know chalipin u'makbid. We know a case of the guy's not makbid yukaina. Chalipin u'makbid yukaina. What about chalipin u'makbid? So the guy brings the case where he wants to know, he said, this is about my purse worth, this is my chamar purse, and guess what? And he did, one guy did Mashiach, the other one did the Mashiach, deal is off. Let's bring a raya. It's a classic chalipin, and nonetheless, you're not kind of. Why? Because they're makbid. This is a classic chalipin. Every chalipin has value, and every chalipin, even once you do one mashicha, the other one acquires it. So over here, there must be another reason why you weren't kaina. Over here, there must be something else. So very often, what the Gemara does, it sets on as ukimta. In other words, you always said this is speaking a certain. We're missing a little piece of information over here, and you put that piece of information, and things change. What's the information over here? Okay, what's the information over here? The hachabay eskinon the amalei. Chamor b'paru tle. You're getting a deal. You're getting 2 for 1. For your chamor, you know what you're getting? You're getting a cow and a sheep. You're getting a cow and a sheep. Now, what happened over here? Umashach apara. He made a kinyan in only part of it. But he didn't go ahead and complete the kinyan. It wasn't a good mashicha. So the kasarin over here was the kinyan wasn't finalized. It was a complete chalipin. You'd be kaina, despite the fact that each person said what? Bekama. Right? Over here, the reason it's not kaina is because why? Because it wasn't completed. Why? Because you had to be kind of 2 things. You had to be kind of the para and the tle, but you're only kind of the para. And therefore it didn't work. Correct. That's it. It's correct.
It's only one deal, so why you have to have both?
It's what's one deal? What's one deal?
The
2 for 1.
Yeah.
So if I got to go ahead and do the 2 to get the 1, because that's the deal. That's the deal. In other words, if I'm, let's say I'm selling you something for $100 and you take 50, is the deal done? Yeah, I don't know, Mendy. You're old school. Everyone has saying over here they're not doing the bobblehead. They're doing the reverse bobblehead. You know? Okay, no. The Kinyan Chalipin Mendy was 2 for 1. In other words, you didn't. No. If you do understand it, then if you do this, it's not the Kinyan. It's like you did nothing. In other words, if you did the para and didn't do the tle, it's like you did nothing. If I did nothing, you cannot kind of the chamar. You understand, Mendy? In other words, you had to do both. Doing one, you're in your mind saying, "Well, he was kind of 1." He wasn't kind of 1. It's like he did nothing because you got to do the whole thing. That'll be the good hesper. What? Well, not really. Not really over here. You know, this is really makbid. In other words, every chalipin you basically know a certain amount meya. Here, makbid means the guy wants to know probably an exact amount. You want to know exactly what it is. Right? Again, any chalipin, you have to know some value, but the shaila was full value. Shaila was full value. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. Amamar, going back over the Brisa on the top. It's an Amoraic statement. It wasn't a Brisa. Machuli be'elu. Okay, so sell it to me. He has a certain amount of money, right? He's holding in his hands. So sell it to me. Kana. Meaning what? You can't go back on the deal. So what does that mean, guys? If you can't go back on the deal, what is that screaming? Chalipin. The yesh lo yalav ayna is why it's a mechira. Lema savar of huna matbeya nasa chalipin. How did we get into this in the first place? Right? How did we get into this in the first place? We had a shaila. Can a matbeya make chalipin or not? We had 2 shailas. Can it make chalipin? It can be acquired with chalipin. We were poishit yesterday, right, with a slew of Amoraim, Ula being one of them, Rav Huna being one of them, that it's not kind of, right? Because his stats is on the surah. Remember, his stats is on the surah, not on the content. It's on the surah, not on the coin itself. What's happening over here? You have money in your hand. You say, I'll buy that chayfetz for this money. The guy says, deal. He's telling me you can't go back in the deal. That means it's chalipin, correct? What's facilitates hands? You tell me my pay can't make chalipin, right? So I can go back in the deal. How can the deal work? Says the Gemara. Lema sava Rav Huna mapei nasa chalipin. Says Moloi. Rav Huna sava lo Reb Yochanan. The Amar devar Torah mois kanos. Really, devar Torah mois kanos. Okay, I'm going to see on the base, guys. Midaraisa, right? Midaraisa it says what? V'nasata kesef v'kamloi. That kesef kedushin. Not kesef. It's his. Kaina. Why do you need Mashiach and the deal is not finalized with the kesef? That it's going to go ahead and burn down. In other words, if I sell you in the wheat and it's in the house and in the silo and the fire breaks out, you're not going to go ahead and save it. You're going to say, well, why, it's not mine. Why should I bother? Right? It's not mine. Why should I bother? Elamah. So therefore, so really over here, so what? Really, the money's kinda. The money's kinda. So milsa the shchicha goes with rabbanon. Milsa le shchicha goes to rabbanon. Now, to have a regular deal where you know exactly what you're buying for a certain amount of money is normal. This case, everyone's when you introduce the case, sell me that with what's in my hand. That's kind of not so shkiach. Which person is going to go ahead and go through with this deal? So therefore, they weren't geyser. If they weren't geyser, then what? Then it's kinda. Al swat. Al kesef. Kesef. And Memela, it's not a chalipin. So you have no kasha on Rav Huna. Guys, Firois, let's go through it again. Guy goes ahead, says, sell this for the money in my hand, right? Deal. Not only deal, can't go back on the deal. That's it. Can't go back on the deal. Who said this? Rav Huna. The Havamina is, what kinyan is it? Chalipin. So what do you see? That matbeya can nasa chalipin, can make a kinyan chalipin. But you just told me that what it can't. Says the Gemara, no, that's not the reason the deal works. It could be that Rav Huna holds, matbeya ein nasa chalipin, and nonetheless the deal is going to work. Mitoiras mechira, an outright sale, not chalipin. I'll ask an outright sale, kesef, they were goyza shema, nisva chitra ba'aliyah, maybe it's going to burn down. Milsa de shchicha goes b'rabbanon, milsa de lo shchicha goes b'rabbanon. So this case over here is milsa de shchicha, the person to make a sale without knowing what he's getting in terms of the money. So therefore, there was no gesered. Therefore, we keep it on the rice of the kedin, which is what? Kesef. Kesef, therefore, would be taina, and therefore the deal is done. Good, but not chalipin. Now, according to this daya, we don't know what Rav Huna holds. He could hold nasalach chalipin like we thought, or no, you're not locked into saying it. He really can hold a nasa chalipin matbeya. And the reason it works is because of the kinyan of kesef. Guys, are good? Again, the Havamina was it's a kinyan chalipin, and therefore you have a raya that chalipin would work with matbeya. The answer is the matbeya is not mitayrus chalipin. The matbeya is mitayrus mechira, outright kesef. Kesef is not kaina. Kesef is not kaina de rabbanan. And he also like Rabbi Yochanan, it's kaina de raisa. That would be beautiful. Okay, now that's the way the Gemara. That's the way. Who learned the Rav Huna? This is who said this. Amamar. I don't know who said it. It's just Amamar. Amalei Marhuna Berei the Rav Nachman Rav Ashi. Oh, so Rav Ashi is the one who said it. So Marhuna, interesting. Marhuna, the son of Rav Nachman, said to Rav Ashi, "Asoin hachi masnin Allah." You learned it this way, Pirish guys. You learned it that kesef or what? No, kesef is good, but you learned it kesef. But as we're not so clear what Rav Huna holds. Right? You said we asked the kasha, and we said no. You're not locked into saying that Rav Huna would say that a matbeya can do chalipin. Anon we hachi masnin Allah. This is the way we learned it. V'chein amar Rav Huna ein matbeya nasa chalipin. In other words, we said it as a vadai. Ein matbeya nasa chalipin, and therefore it's zicha. It's therefore it's kesef. Therefore it's kesef, but not as a suffix. It's the same teretz. It's just don't be. There's no. What he holds, I'm telling you, Vada does hold that way. Vada does hold that way. That Mabey is not good. Okay.
We passed them yesterday. No?
We passed them this way yesterday, right? Guys, that was that Toisvis. El Shmami, no, they Mabey Nikna B'Chalipin. Oh, yeah. Okay, anyway. B'ma koinen. Okay, guys, this comes up in Shas all the time. Comes up in Shas all the time. When you make a kinyan, who kli do you look? Whose keli do you use? Do you use the keli of the koina, the one who's acquiring, or the koina of the makna, the one giving it over? Okay, so let's go. I'm introduced. The sugya of chalipin is based upon Rus. In Rus, we have the koina and the makna. Machlon dies. Machlon dies. He acquired this field from his father Elimelech. Elimelech dies. Elimelech has a brother. Elimelech has a brother. What Ploni Almoni, what the Tov, the Goyal. So the Goyal owns the rights to the field of Elimelech. Who's going to get it? Whoever marries Rus. And Mekayim, what is the closest thing to Yibum? You're going to go ahead and do that. Good. Now comes along Boaz. You got first dibs. Ploni Almoni says, I'm not doing it. I'm worried about my kids. Our shrewish share. Worried about my kids. I can't deal with it. So what happens? So he's going to now be makna the rights to the field to Boaz. Good. Sholafish Nala takes off his shoe. Whose shoe? Is it, if it's Boaz shoe, that's the Kela Shel Koina, or is it the Ploni Almoni shoe, the Kela of the Makna? That's a machlekes. That's a machlekes. This is what we call Kinyan Sudar, but they took off a shoe. We call the Kinyan Sudar, right? This is the source for Kinyan Sudar. I asked the Rav, had a very good kasha. I don't have a good teretz to it. There's a medrash. The medrash says Megillas Rus Lama. Why do you need Megillas Rus? He goes Ein Bo Layisav Laheta Tumav Laitaira Ella just to show the chesed of Rus and Omi. So you have the luck of Suda is learned from here, right? The luck of Suda is learned from here. So it's interesting. It's a good kasha. Okay. He it didn't happen. No, he was busy with something, but again, it's a good kasha. It's not the type of kasha you can answer regular achas, Okay, so now I gave you the background. Let's see the Gemara now. This is the background. Let's see the Gemara. Says the Gemara. How does this work? Exactly. You told me this is a Kinyan Chalipin, so this is a very, very seminal Gemara. Exactly how does Kinyan Chalipin work? Rav Amar, the Kalev Shel Koina, the Kalev of Boaz, the Nichalei Koina, it's good for Boaz. They'll have Makna Ploni Almoni, Koina, to acquire his shoe, Kihech, in order the Ligmar, that he, Ploni Almoni, should go ahead and conclude, the Liknile, to go ahead and be Makna to him. The Levi Amar B'Kalev Shel Makna. Levi says the Kalev of Ploni Almoni. If you look at the lashon in the flow of the matter, it seems to be that it's going on the Kalev of the Koina. On the flow, it's mashma that it's Ploni Almoni takes off his shoe. We pass in Kalev Shel Koina. We pass Kalev Shel Koina. Anyway, Kitabinu Lamim L'Kaman, as we're going to see later on. As we see later on, L'Kaman means right now. Usually, L'Kaman means, usually you don't see L'Kaman. Usually it's like you're using a Tosfos word, but here, okay. Amalei Rav Huna Midiskarta. Say Rav Huna Midiskarta, that's a place. L'Rava Ulalevi, the Amar B'Kalev Shel Makna. According to Levi, says it's the Kalev of the Makna. Hakakoni Ara Agav Glima. He's acquiring the land through the shirt. Okay, guys, Havamina. That's good. Ploni Almoni. Ploni is taking off his shoe, and he is Agav his shoe. He's being Makna the land. Ploni Almoni is taking off his shoe, and Agav his shoe, he's being Makna the land to Boaz. That's the Havamina Gemara. Now, how does Kinyan Agav normally work? You're kind of the land, and you acquire the shoe. In other words, Agav works, you make the Kinyan in Karka, and you acquire the Metalpalin. So, Fred the Gemara, Fred Rav Huna Midiskarta the Rava, according to Levi, who says that the Kalev Shel Makna, Hakakoina Ari, you're getting the rights to Elimelech's land, Agav Glima using his shoe. And in Cain, having the Chosim Sheyesh Lehem Achrayis, the Chosim Sheyesh Lehem Achrayis is Karka, the nickname in the Chosim She'ein Lehem Achrayis. It's being Koina Agav Metalpalin. Va'anon Ibcha Tanan. We learned the Masechta Kedushin the opposite. The Chosim She'ein Lehem Achrayis, nickname in the Chosim She'ein. Arbach, get out. Anyway. Anyway, the Chosim She'ein Lehem Achrayis, nickname in the Chosim Sheyesh Lehem Achrayis. That you usually it's the opposite, fellas. You're kind of the karka, and with the karka, you're kind of what? You're kind of the metalpon. So Amalei, So Rava said to Rav Huna, made this again. Rav Huna was asking on Levi, guys, right? And Levi wasn't around, so he's asking Rava Kasha. So Amalei, so Meir was looking at me like, "What are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense." And I know what he was thinking. Amalei, he havi Levi hacha. If Levi was over here, havi mafik la'apach pulsei denura. He would go ahead and mamish shoot sparks of fire at you. Rashi says he'd put you in chayrim. For such a kasha, he'd put you in chayrim. Yeah, talk about a little tough love, right? For such a kasha, he'd put you in chayrim. Mi sarvis glima maknele. Do you think this is Kinyan Agav that he's being makna the land? Agav what the shoe? He hana the kamakabel the hana that Ploni Almoni had when Boyaz was septed his shoe, right? Gomer va'aknile, he was gomer and he was makna it to him. In other words, with that hana that he had, he was gomer makna. So it's so in other words, it's not agav, it's chalipin. We thought, guys, look at me, eye contact. We thought it was kinyan agav. Kinyan agav, you get the karka and then you get the metaltalin. The havamina was here, you're getting the metaltalin and then you're getting the land. Forget that. It's not kinyan agav. It's a symbolic. It's called kinyan sudar. It's a it's a symbolism. In other words, when you go to the Rav and the Rav makes you a shliach, he's the kaina. He's acquiring your chametz. He's acquiring your chametz. He's using his kli, and the derech is usually that you give it back to him. So if you're kind, you should get his yarmulke, right? You might have shalom. So, right? I'm saying that, but that's usually the norm. That's usually the norm. That's the way it works. That's the way Suda works, guys. That the kaina, and as a result of this, that the hana that he has, is what is now. This is very fascinating because we had this in kedushin. If a woman says "I'll be mekudeshes to you," right? If you accept my present, right? What's that? What hana? That is not choshev. It's not choshev. That not choshev would take a present. So the over here, you see by kinyan it's different. By kedushin you have to be another choshev. But kinyanim, it's enough to just to have a no without being Radam Chashav. Because it doesn't say over here you have to be Radam Chashav. Just says, that's the case. So therefore, the Havamina was his kinyan Agav. No, there's nothing to do with Agav. It has everything to do with Chalipin. Now, this machloikas between Levi and who's the other person? Rav. Machloikas between Rav and Levi is a machloikas Tanoim. Kitanoim. It says v'zoyslefnim b'Yisrael, and this is the pasuk in Rus. Ala gula ala tamura l'kayim kol dava shlofish. Now, guy will take off his shoe. By the way, Rav Reisman has a whole shir. It's not a shoe. He says it's a glove. Rav Reisman has a shir. He says it's a glove. It's not like, which makes more sense, right? It's shine tight. The red is right. Anyway, so. Such bekias, I'm telling you. Anyway, so he says it's a glove. Rav Reisman says it's a glove. Now, so this is what's the geula? What's the tamura? So geula zu mechira. Geula is mechira. The chenoime lo yigoel. It says by ma'aser behema, right? You can't go ahead and sell it. Tamura zu chalipin, right? The chenoime lo yichafenu. Rashi brings, guys. These are the both types of kinyanim of both types of kinyanim, the kinyan of sudar, which is lo yigol, and the kinyan chalipin, which is the bartering of a chamar for a shard. That's why it's two separate things. So it says by tamura lo yachifenu, you can't switch it, lo yomer soy, and you can't make a tamura. L'kayim called davar, shlaf ish na'aloi, v'nasan l'reyeyo, you take off your shoe and you give it to your friend. Mi nasan l'mi, who gave to who? So Boyaz nasan l'goyel. Boyaz gave it to the Goyal. Boyaz, who's the koina, gave it to the Goyal. So this opinion of the Tanakam is Rav. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Goyal nasan leBoyaz. The Makna, Ploni Almoni, gave it to Boaz, and that's Levi. So the Machloikas, Rav and Levi. Rav holds like the Tanakama, and Levi holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Tana, koina b'kli, afapishen shavaput. So a few halachas, guys, you can be koina with chalipin, even if the kli used. Even if the handkerchief is not worth the shabapruta or the yarmulke, the dirty yarmulke, it's not worth the shabapruta, it works. Again, it's symbolic, fellas. It's not you're not going after the value, it's symbolic. Amar Rav Nachman, Lo Shanu, that we said that you have to be a kli, is that P used for what? For chalipin is dafka kli, similar to a nalai, similar to a shoe. Avol beperi, anything that's not a shoe, anything that's metaltal, we'll call the peri, right? But a peri loy, that would not be what? That would not be acceptable. So in other words, if Nachman's being very literal, if the source, that's what my kasha is good kasha. You're using mamish. This is a mamish, the source for what? For halacha of chalipin. You're using it for a source, right? So if this is the source for chalipin, it has to be similar to the shoe, and the shoe is a kli. It's not peri. It's not peri. Even you can use a peri for what? For chalipin. My time of Nachman that you limit it to a shoe. Amakra, it says na'aloi, na'alin, midi achrin aloi, and na'al is a kli. My time of Sheish is that you can use anything. Amakra, the pasuk says the kayim kol davar. So kol davar means lechol davar. But if Nachman nami yaksiv lekayim kol davar, ahu lekayim kol davar the nikna b'manal. And not anything. Enachinami. The Kenyan chalipin is so universally widespread it works. But what? Dafka al yedei the na'al the kli. Rav Sheshes nami yaksiv na'aloi. What does he do with Rav Nachman's raya that na'aloi that's going right on the shoe, dafka kli. Like Rav Sheshes, man na'aloi dava mesuyim. Just like na'aloi is a dava mesuyim, guys. It's a complete thing. It's a dava shalim. Af kol dava mesuyim. So too, the object used for the Kenyan chalipin must be a dava mesuyim. It has to be a dava shalim. Lafuki chatzi rimayin v'chatzi egos. To exclude what? Half a rima and half a egos, that you can't use that. This is a peri. Rav Sheshes holds it's a pri, but nonetheless, since it's half, it's not similar to a shoe, which is a dav mesuyim, which is a complete thing. Amar Rav Sheshes, Brei Rav Idi, Keman Kasivno Idna. This is the lashon they would write. Bin Mana de Kasha lemiknaya bei. Okay, so that, guys, let's get the words down. Bin Mana is the kli, the kasher. It has to be a kasher kli. Lemiknaya bei, to acquire with it. Good. Now, what are we going to darshan from that? Bin Mana, it has to be a mana, a kli. La Fuke Rav Sheshes, who said you can use a peri. The Amar Kohen Beperis. The kasha, it has to be a kli kasha. La Fuke mid Shmuel, to exclude Shmuel on the days. The Amar Koina b'meruka. Rashi says meruka is a kli that's made from galale baka. It's made from the feces of a baka. It's made from feces of a baka, which is the dava mois. Something that's pretty not geshmak. I saw the Ritva says that we find that they use kli baka because it's not makabel tumah. It's not makabel tumah. One of the things that they did use it, so it's not a dava mois. He says therefore it's speaking about a kli use for mereglayim, for urine. That would be a dava mois. That you can't use as a means of chalipin. You can't use a chamber pot as a means of chalipin because it's not kosher. Bimana kosher. Yes. What? Toysa says garini tamara. It's seeds of dates. Shemachlikin behem es a klaf that you would use to go ahead what and smooth out the cloth. So you won't be able to use that lot as. I guess Tosha says it's not kosher. I guess it's something that's not so geshmak. Lemiknaya, lemiknaya, la'afuke midalevi, to exclude Levi, the Amma b'kelev shal makna. It is saying that what? No, it has to be the kelev of the koina. Kamash malon lemiknaya v'lo. Okay, kamash malon lemiknaya v'lo leknuye, to acquire, not to transfer, not to transfer. So, in other words, you could use it to acquire, but not to transfer. Bay, what is Bay Kam? Who says that what that's speaking about Paris. What does the Bay Kam to do? Lamute matbeya, that you can't use the matbeya for chalipin. You can't use Isuri Hana for chalipin. Ikadiyam, the others say Bay, Amra Papa Lamute matbeya, and the kosher, Amra Svid. So he doesn't learn it from the word bay, he learns it from the word kasha. What about if you don't use bay, how do you know what dava mois? You don't need a pasuk for that to tell me that you can't use according to a chamber pot, according to Ritva, according to Rashi. You don't need a pasuk for that, and therefore the question is mashmas hadarshim, from what are you learning the halacha from where? Asimon kones amat bay. We said an asimon is considered a pre. Guys, let's go back to the Mishnah, and you don't have to see it inside. I'll just remind you. We're speaking about the Mishnah about which is considered the pre and which is considered the matbeya, right? In order to make a kinyan, you have to be kind of the pre to be kind of the coin, right? You have to be kind of the pre to be kind of the coin. So in the case of zahav and silver, gold and silver, gold is the peri, and silver is the matbeya. In order to be, so if I'm selling you 25 silver dinarim for one dinar of gold, You have to make the kinyan. It has to be in the gold, which is the peri. We said if you have an asimon, you're buying an asimon. The asimon is the peri, and whatever the other thing you're spending on it is the kesef. Goodness to consider the tiva, and you have to make the kinyan in the asimon rather than the kesef. Now, what is an asimon? My asimon. What is that asimon? Now you're thinking back to Eretz Yisrael. Oh, so you're not that young. I told you. The asimon in Agemara is not that asimon of Eretz Yisrael with the hole with the groove in it. That's not. They had the telephone with the groove. They had the groove. They had a groove, and you had right. You had to go down. You had to go to the post office to get it, and then to use it, it was a pain. Anyway, so now, what exactly is an asimon? So Amarav, Mois hanitonois besimin lebeis hamerchatz. Remember in camp, you had to buy a soda. You had a ticket. So this asimon was the ticket for the bathhouse. That Rashi says they should know how much water, they should know how much towels. That was useful. Mesivei, emachalin ma'aseh al asimon. You can't be machal ma'aseh sheni al asimon. You can't do asimon and say the kedusha of ma'aseh sheni should be transferred to the asimon. But loyal mois hanitonis besimin the beis hamerchatz. Now, and then it says nor that. So if you're telling me two different things, it must be the asimon is not that. Obviously, it must not be. What would you suggest? That the latter is coming to go ahead what? And explain the former. Well, we didn't learn that way. We have a says in Idias in the second and the third parak. You could be Machal and Maisa Sheni al Simon. That's what Reb Daisa says. You could do that. The Chachamim you cannot. The Shavin and both Reb Daisa and the Chachamim agree. She'emachalin al mois hanitonos besimin lebeis hamerchatz. So obviously you can't say Perushi kama farsha. There's a machlokes whether you can use asimon. Reb Daisa says yes, and the Chachamim say no, and there's an agreement that you can't use what. Okay, so obviously it's two separate things. So back to the original question, guys. What's an asimon? So Elam Rabbi Yochanan and my asimon is pulsa. It's an unminted slug. It's a slug. And basically, in other words, it's the coin. It's not the coin. It's the template that when you're going to go ahead, you're going to push the imprint on. That's what it is. In other words, it's a slug. What we call a slug. Because the Rabbi Yochanan Tamei, Dam Rabbi Yochanan, who explains it this way, that asimon is what is an unminted slug. Is speaking the Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Daisa, Rabbi Shmuel, Amru Davar Echad. Rav Daisa and Rabbi Shmuel both say the same thing. What does Rav Daisa Hada Amaran? Rav Daisa said that you could be Machal Ma'aseh Sheni on asimon. You could be Machal Ma'aseh Sheni on asimon. Rabbi Shmuel Ma'hi Tanya. It says V'tzarta kesef b'yadcha, and you should tie up the kesef in your hands. The Rabbi is called Dava HaNitzra, to go ahead and include anything that is nitzra, even an asimon. Anything that you can keep in your hand, you could use for Ma'aseh Sheni, even an asimon. Who says this, guys? Rabbi Shmuel. So what does Rabbi Shmuel hold? You could use an asimon. That's the same as Rabbi Daisa. The Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva Omer, the Rabbi is called Dava Sheyesh Lo Tzura. It's Sarta Kesef Yatra, that it has to have a tzura. So an asimon that does not have a tzura on it, doesn't have an image on it, it's a slug, you can't use it. The bottom line is, you see the machlokes between the way that Rabbi Yochanan explained the machlokes, right, is that clearly Rabbi Shmuel holds that you could use an asimon, right, and it must be this, right, that he holds like Rabbi Daisa. Ketzad Moshech Peres Leinasan Lamois and Yachal Achsavay. You go ahead, once you do it, the deal is done. You can't go back in the deal, right? So what does it say? It says V'nasan HaKesef V'kom Loi. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, and this pasuk is here's the pasuk, guys. V'nasata kesef, you'll sata b'kesef, v'tzata kesef b'yatro, v'lachti ala mokem asher yivcha Hashem l'kecha boy. So this is the pasuk v'nasata b'kesef. This is not the pasuk. Anyway, v'chi simchu mimcha al misecha, koinim yad misecha, al tonu ish es achid. Okay, so now the first pasuk is the pasuk to teach me kesef works, and the second one, v'chi simchu mimcha al misecha, is to tell me that kesef doesn't work and you need mashicha, because simchu mimcha al misecha, you're going ahead and giving something one to another. Says the Gemara. Rav Yochanan. This again, you quoted many times, guys. Look at the Mesorah Shas on this. You had on the Amid days yesterday. We had today's Amid Aleph. We had an Erevin Chulin, Kedushin, and we had this that whether Mois is kind, it's all over Shas. You know why it's a chiddush? Because we use cash. In our minds, cash is king. You give the money, the deal is done, right? And you see that that's why there's Amazon with credit cards. The deal's not done. Because you can always go back. That's why we use a credit card, right? What I tell you when you buy a plane ticket, always use a credit card. Never pay Chayin Aaron Shmila Koyin. Cash. Now, Amar Rav Yochanan, Dvar Torah Mois Koinis. Ma Omer Meshicha Koina. Why do I say Meshicha's Koina? Gezeir Shem Yoim Aloi Nisu Chit Chavaliyah. So now, what's the big deal? The half a mean is you're speaking about an arson. You're speaking about a person who burnt it down. You're speaking about an arson. Slave, man shadid the lake, the person who burnt down the silo, boy shlume. So why would you make a gezerah? L'chayra, you're gonna get paid your stuff in the first place. So let it be kaina. It's just your stuff in somebody else's rishus, where a person's being masik and he'll pay you. Ella, what do you have to say? Gezerah shem people the lake of boyness. Not speaking where there was masik, it's speaking about there was a fire broke out. So imok mislaber should say, if you're going to go ahead and keep it in the rishus of the makna, masa nafshe tarach umatzal, he's going to trouble himself and save it. The loy masa nafshe tarach umatzal. But if it's not in his rishus, he's going to turn over in bed and say, "Good, guess what? Right, escaping the shon." Rishlakas of the opinion, meshicha mifureshes min atayra. The kesef is not koina, meshicha is koina. According to Rabbi Yochanan, meshicha is the rabbanan. According to Rabbi Rishlakas, the raisa. My time to Shlakish Amakra, the pasuk says, "Simkru mimchel amisecha." You go ahead and you sell something to your friend, or you acquire something from your friend. Altonu ishasachib. Do not go ahead and altonu. Do not overcharge. Do not overcharge. Do not overcharge. Okay, this is the pasuk of Ainah. So the main purpose of this pasuk is Ainah, the din of Ainah, that not to overcharge. Now, says Rish Lakish, since it says. It's something that's acquired from hand to hand. What's Mashicha? Mashicha is we go ahead, you give for one person, and you give it over to the other person. You go from one person, give it to the other person. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, miyad. Why does it say miyad? Mute karka. In other words, where's the main point of the pasuk, guys, is like sano, din of Ainah. The din of Ainah is only something that can be given over from hand to hand, which is mitaltalin. But karka, the less lay I know. But there's no din of I know in karka. There's no din of overcharging the sixth in karka. Why? Because it's not a davar mitim liyad. Beishlakish im kein lichtav krav v'chisim kumimcha miyad amisecha al tainu oikana lamali. What do I have to say oikana? Shema mino l'mashicha, to tell me that the kinyan is facilitated through mashicha, giving it over. Rabbi Yochanan oikana my ovid lay. What does he do with the raya of Reish Lakish? Right, I would say what? That's only by the meicher. The person who bought it gets, the meicher overcharges the lekeach. And how do you know? Let's say undercharges. How do you know it works both ways? Right? You ever see the kid goes to one of the big overcharge. The kid is into baseball cards. And they go to the hot corner, they go to one of these stores, and they come back all excited. They come back with a 1952 Vic Davalio. I mean, cards worth garnish with garnish, something you never heard of in your life, right? And the kid's so excited. It's an old baseball card. He got ripped off. It's my Shashaya. Now, what about if he comes back? What about he comes back and he's got a 1952 Mickey Mantle? Then you kiss your child and say, bless you. And you go and cash in your multi-million-dollar card, right? Right. Halavai. The Master Shahaya is okay. Anyway, so there's Ainah. How we get into this? There's Ainah of the Lakeach and the Lo of the Meicher. What? May. Anyway, so that's what Matam Lamoikana. Altona v'Reish Lakish Tarti Gamamine. Reish Lakish, he learns out both. He learns Tarti Gamamine. He learns out both. Right, let's see Rashi in that. Tarti Gamamine, go up. Tarti Gamamine. Ainas Meicher Me'oikana. He learns Ainah of the Meicher, meaning the one that sells it, that undercharges a sixth, he learns an oikaina al tainoi, or meshicha. So me oikaina al tainoi, or meshicha. How do you know meshicha? With the samech miyad lashon kinyan. It says the chisimchu mimcha misecha oikaina miyad. It says koina miyad. It says after the word miyad. It says the word koina. Okay, I guess we'll stop over here.